Our human body is composed of water mostly. 60% of the weight of our body is approximately the water content. Assuming a 60 kilogram weight of a human body, around 35 to 36 liters of water is there in the body. This water is not in one compartment. There are several compartments. The total body water of 35 liters is primarily distributed into two parts, the extracellular water and the intracellular water. The extracellular water constitutes about 60% out of this 35 liters. Remaining 40% is within the cells. The extracellular water is again of two types. The water in the blood pipes, the circulating water in the form of plasma, and the interstitial fluid. So, the plasma water or the circulating blood volume water is 2.5 liters, whereas the interstitial fluid is the remaining part of the extracellular fluid, which is 60% of the total body water. So, there is an abundant amount of water in the interstitium. This is highly essential for the exchange of nutrients, chemicals, ions and different molecules across the cell membrane. And of course, 40% of the water is in the intracellular compartment, and cytoplasm is the major constituent of the water within the cell. Of course, there is some amount of water within the nucleus too, but majority of the water of the cell is stored within the cytoplasm, thus again making it available for movement across the cell membrane. Remember, the cell membrane is a bilayered lipid rich membrane which will not allow water that easily to pass from one side to another unless there is a strong reason in the form of a gradient or an active transport across the cell membrane. Look at this table. This summarizes the daily water balance. In a 70 kilogram human being, the approximate intake of water is 2.4 liters per day, and similarly 2.4 liters of fluid is put out or taken away from the body to maintain the water balance. So, the 2.4 liters of intake is distributed as follows. 1.5 liters of water comes from the fluids that we drink, half a liter or 500 ml come from the food that we eat. The solid food that we eat also contains water, and around half a liter of that water that we take in is from the solid food. Another 400 ml or 0.4 liters is from biological oxidation. You know that all the fuels, the fuel foods that we eat, the carbohydrates, the fats, the proteins, when they are metabolized in the body, the final end product is carbon dioxide and water, and that is called the metabolic water or the water due to biological oxidation. 400 ml of water that way comes from biological oxidation. So, thus this 2.4 liters is distributed as 1.5 liters as fluid intake, 0.5 liters as water from solid food, and 0.4 liters from biological oxidation. An equal amount of water is put out or excreted from the body every day. So, that is around 2.4 liters. How does this go? 1.5 liters goes through the kidneys in the form of urine, 0.4 liters is put out or excreted through the skin due to perspiration or sweating, and 0.4 liters or 400 ml is excreted by the lungs in the breath, and the remaining 100 ml is excreted in the feces. Thus, there is a balance of the total amount of water we take in and the total amount of water that is excreted or put out. Of course, this intake and output depends upon various factors like the age, the body weight, the temperature, the ambient temperature, the metabolic status, the obesity of the individual, and various hormonal functions of the individual. But this is an approximate calculation that we can keep in mind about the water balance. This is a diagrammatic representation of the same information that we have seen. So, an intake of around 2.4 liters, 1500 from drinking, 500 from solid food, 400 from metabolism, and an output of 2.4 liters, 1.5 liters as urine, 400 ml from the lungs, 400 ml from the skin, and 100 ml from the feces. This is the same information as what we have seen in the table in the previous slide. Let us now understand some of the basic terms that we use when we deal with the presentation on water homeostasis. The two important names are the solute and the solvent. For any solution, there will be at least two components. One component is the liquid in which the particular substance is dissolved, and that liquid is called the solvent. The other component is the solid that is dissolved, or the molecule that is dissolved in the solvent, and that is the solute. Take for example a solution of sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is the solute, water is the solvent. Likewise, take an example of glucose. Glucose is the solute and water is the solvent. So, we should not have any confusion about these two words, solute and solvent, because we have got a condition called solute diuresis, that is excess of urine flow occurring due to excess of solute in the urine. The solute could be more of glucose, more of urea, more of calcium, more of sodium, anything. So, the solute diuresis implies that there is an excess excretion of a substance, a solid substance, and in order to send that excess substance in the form of a solution, we require excess water to go out, and that is what is called solute diuresis. Again, the osmotic pressure of a solution is measured in terms of two terms. One is the osmolality, the other is the osmolarity. When we say osmolality, it means the pressure is measured, osmotic pressure is measured in terms of milliosmoles per kilogram of the solvent. So, for 1 kilogram of the solvent, how many milliosmoles of pressure is being exerted by that solution, and that is known as the osmolality. Whereas, osmolarity, RITY, osmolarity means so many milliosmoles per liter of the solution. Here the reference is not the solvent, but the entire solution measured in liters. In the above example, osmolality, it is the solvent, per solvent we express in kilograms. Here, per solution in liter we express. So, these are slightly different in terms of their implications, but as far as water is concerned, 1 kilogram of water is equal to 1 liter of water, because water has got a specific gravity of 1. So, the osmolality is nearly the same as the osmolarity when water is the solvent. But for all our continuation in this discussion, we use milliosmoles per kilogram or the osmolality as the measure, and we will not touch upon osmolarity. The osmolality of a solution. The osmolality of any solution depends on the number of particles in the solution and also the size of the particles. This osmolality of plasma, let us say, is around 280 milliosmoles per kilogram of water. This is maintained within a very narrow range. How to calculate the osmolality of plasma? The following is the formula: 2 times sodium plus potassium plus glucose divided by 18 plus blood urea nitrogen divided by 2.8. In this formula, the important determinant of course is the sodium, because sodium is 130 milliequivalents, let us say, in the body, and potassium is 4 milliequivalents. 2 multiplied by 132 plus 4 is equal to 2 into 136. Glucose is 108, let us say, milligrams percent, divided by 18 will be 6, and 14 bun divided by 2.8 will be equivalent to 5. 6 plus 5 plus 2 of 136 is 272. So, 272 plus 11 is equal to 283. So, this is the way we calculate the osmolality of plasma. Remember here that the level of sodium in the plasma plays a major role, or it is the principal determinant of the osmolality, because the other numbers contribute to a lesser extent, whereas potassium is not more than 4 or 4.5 or 5 milliequivalents. So, it is the sodium that is the principal determinant of the osmolality of plasma.